So AJ, right after we recorded episode 21, which is really good, If I Were a Rich Man or Woman, What Are We Really Chasing? These headlines appeared literally the next morning. So I want to read them to you.
Okay.
It turns out money does buy happiness, at least up to $500,000. Bloomberg. Money actually does buy happiness, says Nobel Prize winning economist. That's from the New Scientist. And the Washington Post headline, Can money buy happiness? Scientists say it can.
What? It's like kind of well known in society that money can't buy you happiness. I would like to know what they're referring to.
Well, we're going to dig into this. Welcome to the Live Truly Free podcast, where we provide fatherly guidance to entrepreneurs at any level of their journey. Hi, I'm George Black, and this is AJ. Are you ready for this week's adventure of building great companies and discovering the Live Truly Free lifestyle for entrepreneurs? Awesome, let's get started. If we're really honest, deep down in our being, we all know money can't buy happiness. But in that same deep down place, we desperately want it to be true.
Yeah, it would be very convenient if it's like, oh, I just got more money and then I'm going to be all happy all of a sudden.
Right.
If it was magic.
We want something, a pill, more money. We want some formula that says, do this and you'll be happy.
And that's just not the case, as we both know, but these mainstream articles seem to be going against what we're saying. So
we're going to get into all of this. And I started going like, what's behind these headlines and stuff? But first I started thinking, well, what are we after in all this? Like, what are we chasing as human beings? And I was like, what's a good source document for that? Where's somewhere I can go? And then I remembered that, so in my book, The Next Level Entrepreneur, there's two characters, Mr. A, the sage entrepreneur, and Max, who is the young guy who writes Mr. A, and you'll have to read the book, or the audiobook's in production, so get that. But when we have it available, we'll let you know. But he's a big Mr. A is a big Declaration of Independence. So that's the Declaration of Independence, United States of America's founding document, July 4, 1776. And in the second sentence, they say this, and I'm going to read it so I don't mess it up. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
I think the key is the pursuit part, is they don't guarantee that every human's going to be happy, but at least we have the freedom to pursue it. Yeah. And it's not even a guarantee that if you pursue it, you'll get it. You can just pursue it, is all they're saying.
Right. Well, and so this is a really powerful sentence, if you really break it down, that all of us are equal, that all of us are endowed by the Creator with certain rights. Among these, so these are kind of like their top three. You have the right to live, you have the right to freedom, liberty, and the right to pursue happiness. And you're correct, it's not a right to happiness, but at least we can go after it.
Yeah.
So when I hear that, when I read that, I was like, oh, I think what they're saying is this is innate to human beings.
This desire to be happy.
To pursue happiness, to live. We fight for life. We want to, we struggle to survive, and we want to be free.
Mm-hmm. And do you think that's why, because we have that innate desire, that's why we see like money as the easiest way to try to pursue that? Like, is that just like the most convenient way that we can see is like, that's how I'm going to get all that happiness stuff?
Well, I think, I think let's fast forward now 200 and, however many years it's been. Almost, we're getting close to 250. But, which is young by most country standards, right? Mm-hmm. I think what's happened in our culture today is, and the marketing, we've talked about this, is like, buy this and life will be easier. Life will be so much better. You just need one of these. and we believe it.
Yeah.
You know, and sometimes life is better.
Mhm.
You know, refrigerators are great, air conditioning's wonderful. There's a lot cars. You know, so there's a lot of truth in all of that. But I think we're all about trying to build that happy little life by just charging it.
Yeah, you can't just buy that.
No. So let's go back to the headlines.
Yeah.
I mean, I think, you know, okay, whoever wrote the headlines and these articles, you know, I think they're just reflecting the cry of the human heart.
Mm-hmm.
Can money buy happiness? Scientists say it can. Yeehaw! You know, all I need is this amount of money. How much is that?
Click on this article, please.
Yeah, well, yes, you're the clickbait generation, right? Yeah. It's like, yeah, I'm not clicking on that. Well, so, okay, neither am I. Because I'm reading whoever wrote this article, I'm reading their interpretation on something. Well, what the scientist says or this Nobel Prize winning economist says.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to know, what did he actually say?
Yeah.
So the first thing I found, so they put all the links in the article.
Yeah.
So you just click on. So in this day and age, it's super easy to do this. Do you know what the title of the study is?
What?
Income and Emotional Well-Being, a conflict resolved. There's no claim even in the headline that that you can buy happiness. So what they do in this study is they're actually combining two studies.
Okay.
And that's the conflict resolved. The conflict is the studies appeared to be at odds with each other, but then when they dug into the data, they figured out, oh, wait a minute, they're not in conflict. And so the first study was that money brought a certain level of happiness, but at about $115,000 in income or so, it leveled off.
Okay.
In the second study, it said, nope, it doesn't stop. So they went from like $15,000 in income all the way up to $450,000, and it was just sort of a straight slope up.
Of just keep getting happier the more money they make.
Right.
Okay.
That's what it said. And they go, but then they got into the data that put together the two studies, and the conclusions are absolutely fascinating. And here they are, because you're now going to get my interpretation of the study. We will put a link in the show notes so you can go read the study for yourself. It's very wonky, lots of quartiles and quintiles and all this stuff, you know.
Yeah.
But essentially, there's two groups of people, unhappy and happy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And they have 5 categories that people could select through the day, 3 times a day, as to what they were feeling. And they had like 1.7 million data points.
Okay.
So, you know, it's very robust. The unhappy people got a little happier with more income. And that moved from, say, $50,000, $75,000 up to about $100,000. They got happier, and then it flattened.
Okay.
So that's where, like the previous study, the flattening really occurred.
Yeah, and because they were already unhappy.
They were already unhappy, and the study, somewhere in there, they talk about how what they think might be going on is money will buy some happiness.
Mm-hmm.
So in other words, money will solve some unhappy problems. Like if my car is broken and I'm unhappy about that, I can now afford to take it to the mechanic and get it fixed. Right. But it levels off because there's so much other unhappiness in their life that you can't solve, like death, divorce, that sort of thing. So, which is what they say in the study. So the happy people keep getting happy. Now, here's what's interesting. They started from $15,000 in income all the way up to $450,000. And I think for most of us, $450,000 just felt like that's really high.
Yeah. Seems pretty high to me. I'll take it.
Would you be happy? Yeah.
I feel like I'd be happy at $450,000.
But you're already a happy person.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of what the study says.
Yeah.
And in fact, they found that a 4-time increase in income for an individual created the equivalent happiness of having a really nice weekend.
That's it.
I'm just telling you what they said in the study. There's some real complicated sentences in this thing, so I might not be reading that right, but that's the way it read to me. So you're right. 450,000 is a lot. In fact, and this is hard to get a real precise number on, but about over $130,000 in income is about 10% of Americans. Their data correlation really doesn't, it gets pretty scattered once you get, there's not that many people to study, but there's a lot of people to study between like 30,000 and 130,000 in income. So what I'm concluding from this study is that basically happy people are happy and unhappy people are unhappy. And I appreciate the passion of the headline writers and the article writers who desperately, like all of us, want a cure, right, for happiness. You know, like we found the way to, here's the route to go pursue happiness. I don't think it's money.
Yeah, because like, how do they even define happiness? Like, if you're going to write an article that says money's going to make you happy, how are you defining happiness at that point?
Well, this is a great point. So there's a couple of interesting things about the study that I actually think are flawed. And I'm not trying to say I'm smarter than these Nobel Prize winning economists, but I'm just sitting out here in common senseville and going like, it's common sense. So what is happy? Well, in English, English is very imprecise as a language. I've not studied the ancient languages in depth, but I am familiar with them. And there's more precision with words. We have one word for love. The Greeks have 3 or 4 words for love, for example. Happy, here's a definition I pulled. Feeling or showing pleasure or contentment. I go, well, wait a minute. Contentment's different than happy.
That's what I would think.
So contentment is willing to accept a particular thing, satisfied in a state of peaceful happiness. I'm like, and so then you go look at synonyms, all right? When you look at happy, content's one of the synonyms. When you look at content, happy's one of the synonyms. So for our purpose of discussion, I want to propose that when I say happy, I'm using it in the sense of glad, joyful, cheerful, delighted, right?
Yeah.
I think that's pretty good.
That I would agree, yeah.
All right. And hopefully you guys will agree too. And would love comments on what's your definition. And content, I'm using in the sense of satisfied, pleased, gratified, fulfilled.
Okay. And so you're saying, can money get you to contentment but not happiness?
No. What I think they should have measured was contentment. I think that would have been, in other words, how satisfied are you? Because we're raising the question in these conversations of, well, how much is enough? And you gave the example in a previous episode from the YouTube drug dealer guy, and he got to 250,000, and that wasn't enough. So he went to 1 million. Well, then he got thrown in jail. But so I guess 250 was enough, you know. But there's something else they're not measuring correctly here.
And that is?
Wealth.
Because they're only looking at income.
Yeah, and this is the great, oh my gosh, and we don't want to get political, but the politicians talk about, the wealthiest and all this, but then they tax the income earners, so then they want to tax wealth, and it gets all convoluted. But essentially, if you're making more money than you're spending, then you're accumulating wealth. And I've known millionaires who can't do that, by the way. Just saying. So you can make 100,000 or 1 million or I don't know. The thing about wealth is as you accumulate wealth, you're able to do more things financially than you could if you didn't.
Yeah.
And you also can take more risks. So, for example, take something simple like buying a house. You've got to keep renting until you accumulate enough wealth to make a down payment.
Yeah.
So, and in business, it's the same way. If I can accumulate some, what we call in business, net worth, then I've got more ability to actually get loans and actually leverage my business.
Mm-hmm.
And we can dig deep into that sometime if you guys want.
Yeah.
But
it all starts at wealth and accumulating assets.
It starts at wealth, and wealth begins with income and spending less than you make.
Mm-hmm.
So I think a study on where are people content?
Yeah. At what level of wealth?
What level of wealth are people content at? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you would change basically both variables they're measuring. Change happiness for contentment and change income for wealth and see how that would change the study. Yeah.
And if anyone would like to fund this study, you can make the check out to Live Truly Free. I'll bet we could do this study for what, 2 or 3 million?
Yeah, probably.
Okay. So, yeah, I think that's what. And so I want to change our question.
Mm-hmm.
I can't change their study, but I want to change our question to, at what level of wealth would you be content?
That's probably a fair question to consider.
Yeah. And you can mix income in there too. But it's kind of like, yeah, if I had $1 million of wealth, and they're saying you can't retire on that anymore. Have you seen that headline?
Mm-hmm.
So last year it was you could retire on $1 million of wealth. Now it's 3 million. But I thought inflation only went up 10%. But I don't know. It's changing all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Point is, what level of contentment are you at? And I think content people are content people. Just like happy people are happy people.
Mm-hmm.
And you learn to live in a contented way into your circumstances. Okay, so while we're on this whole topic of getting rich and happy and all this stuff, they just came out with the happiest country on earth.
Mm-hmm.
You know what it is? Wait. Do y'all want to guess? Put it in the comments. Hurry. Okay. Or pause. No, don't pause. Keep watching. What do you think the happiest country is?
Well, you just sent me a text a little earlier this week, so I know it's Finland.
Yes, you do. So, Finland has been named the happiest country in the world for the 6th year running. So, this is kind of cool. So, Visit Finland is now offering 10 people the chance to come to their country and learn how to be happy like the Finnish. And so, the contest is Find Your Inner Finn,
mm-hmm.
Finn. And you'll win a 4-day trip to Finland to attend their Happiness Masterclass.
Oh, that seems pretty nice, but 4 days doesn't seem like enough time to master happiness.
What they will let you do is you can stay on in Finland at your own expense. They're paying your airfare.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, you could stay longer. And you ought to see the facility you get to stay at. Oh my gosh. I mean, it's in this beautiful remote area and spa, sauna, this whole thing. And I'm like, I could be pretty happy there.
Yeah. Seems like it costs a lot of money if they didn't pay for it, though.
But here's the brilliance. So in the write-up of stuff, and this really drew me in, was they said this. A question we often get is, how are you so happy? We believe Finnish happiness stems from a close relationship with nature and our down-to-earth lifestyle. It's not some mystical state, but a skill that can be learned and shared.
That doesn't sound like we're all rich.
Well, it does sound like we can find happiness in our green spaces in our big cities or wherever.
Mm-hmm. And down to earth also means more just the basic needs and less of all the fancy materialist type of pursuits.
Well, yeah, maybe, but I think I need to go to Finland and attend this Happiness Masterclass to find out what it's all about. So if you enjoyed this conversation between me and AJ, I know you're going to love this video. Check it out, and in the meantime, may you live truly